So we must do two things, two great things together, to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself.
So the system goes on to principle as spirit, and the issue is our conformity, the conformity between prayer and our character. Our character inwardly and outwardly, internally and externally, that there must be an honesty of expression. An honesty of expression. This is a self-organized system, one that is honest in its expression. Let's take the epitome at that point. We have to go back to the question, how is a self-organizing system established? By allowing no discrepancy between outer and inner purity. Outer and inner purity. This is really indicating something that we're going to see when we come to life, truth, and love, how this affects life, truth, and love. Because the system that has no discrepancy within and without is one that is a perfectly balanced, closed, and open system. This belongs to the meaning of autopoietic. When we come to the tones of life, truth, and love, we will see that life focuses on the autopoietic system, the autopoiesis of the system. That a living system is autopoietic. So we will see something generally at that point about our autopoietic nature, the nature of life, and then we will see that actually truth and love take up two other aspects within the meaning of autopoiesis. So truth will take up the sense of the right closedness of the system. What it means to be closed in a right way. And love will take up what it means to be open in a right way, to be an energetically, environmentally open system. So the closed system, the correctness of a closed system at the point of truth is going to accentuate the inner purity, and the open system at the point of love will accentuate our outer purity. And both of these must be in balance. There must be no discrepancy in them. You see how the tone of principle readies us to demonstrate life, truth, and love. So we have in this subject, as you can see, a lot of text, a lot of verbiage. And so what I would like to do is to share with you my findings, having ordered that text, not that it's not in order, but having read it selectively, looking at it selectively to see what is an honest expression of prayer and what is a dishonest expression of prayer. What is the discrepancy factor within us versus the honesty within us, that this determines our character. So we get the self-organizing system first from the positive standpoint, and what is that honesty within and without? She says it is to have an honest heart. Remember, it's all to do with the expression. We're back at the standpoint of spirit, and you remember that spirit has all to do with expressing qualities, as we saw in the second subject. So she says it is an honest heart, a silent prayer that is in accord with our desire, coming face to face with ourselves and not hiding it. That's honesty, honest expression, where the character corresponds within and without, the nature of us corresponds within and without, where there's no secret nature. You see, this is the expression within us when we are lined up with mind, spirit, and soul. Then our prayer is principled, and to be principled means to be honest in its expression. And this honesty in its expression is an indicator of our character. No secret nature, that we are alike inside and out. If you wake us up in the middle of the night, we say the same thing that we say in the middle of the day. Huh? You know that there's a joke. Isn't it about English people? If you wake them up in the middle of the night, do they have an accent? Do they have an English accent? They do. This is honesty of expression, isn't it? Huh? Don't tell them that I said that. What else is that honesty? That what we express is what we actually feel. That we don't say something that we don't feel. It's pure, it's sincere. It's actually to reach the loftiness of our prayer. This is honesty of expression. Feeling the aspiration, humility, gratitude, and love that we express. So it's feeling what we express and expressing what we feel. Never trying to deceive ourselves or others. Not covering up anything with professions. Actually desiring the humility that we fervently pray for. Turning toward the poor in spirit. Isn't that an interesting one, huh? She says it's turning toward the poor in spirit, and therefore being ready to receive the reward from Spirit who blesses the poor. Oh, it's the cybernetic, isn't it? Turning toward the poor in spirit, those that are of the quality of wanting the spiritual, and thus being ready to receive the reward of Spirit. See, it's a cybernetic interworking. Spirit who blesses the poor. And she ends the subtone just as she's begun it, having an honest heart. Isn't that sweet? She begins it with speaking about an honest heart and ends it with the honest heart, so it all loops back again. It's one loop. Then what is a discrepancy? So that honest expression is the is the constituency at the point of spirit of the self-organized system that we have become. And what is the opposite of that? A discrepancy within us. If there's any discrepancy, the system isn't organized yet. So those discrepancies are, for instance, a wordy prayer, affording a quiet sense of self-justification, but making the sinner a hypocrite, coming only spasmodically face to face with one's wickedness, then seeking to hide it. She speaks about indexes not corresponding with character. So you had an index and you would turn to it and expect to find the same thing, expect to find that which is indicated in the index, and you find something else. This is indexes not corresponding with character. Holding secret fellowship with sin. It is when everything is external and like whited sepulchres full of all uncleanness. So you have a sepulcher that has been either painted white or is of white stone, of fine white stone or marble or granite, and inside is everything unclean. It's when we are only apparently fervent and prayerful, but actually impure and insincere, never reaching the loftiness of our prayer, expressing aspiration, humility, gratitude, and love only with our words, but not feeling it, trying to deceive ourselves or others. Professions and audible prayers to cover the multitude of sins. Praying for humility with fervency of expression, but without a real desire for it. That this has really not the demonstrating power of the self-organizing principle. And turning away from the poor, and therefore not being ready to receive the reward of Spirit who blesses the poor. Confessing to having a very wicked heart and asking to have it laid bare before us when we already know much more about this heart than we are willing to have anyone see. This is the discrepancy. It is always indicating something within us that is not in perfect isomorphy with mind, with spirit, and with soul. So the honest expression is prayer. The honest expression is a state of prayer, or we could say a state of divine self-organization, and that is, summing it up as mind, where our desire accords with the expression of that desire, whereas spirit, the inward and outward expression conform, and as soul, where the inward and outward expression are sincere. This is outer and inner purity. And so principle goes on and it says there is also a requirement that you must fulfill at the point of soul to be a self-organizing principle. You must examine yourself honestly. We must examine ourselves honestly. So she says we should examine ourselves. What do you do when you examine yourself? You turn inward. It's a cybernetic process looking within. It's a self-referral process within us and learn what is your goal, really. Learn what is really your goal as you look inward. What is the affection and purpose of the heart? That's the goal. For in this way only can we learn what we honestly are. Then we can really evaluate how far we have come in that evolution, how advanced, how much advancement we have made on the course to the divine goal, if the goal within our heart is identical with the divine goal. Then we can, by measuring that, learn what we honestly are. We can learn if we are divinely self-organized. And then she brings in a touch of the homeostasis, gives an example of searching the heart, and shows that this searching of the heart, this examining of the heart, can also be affected through our relationship with others, with our interacting with others. So in interacting with a friend, if a friend informs us of a fault, do we listen patiently to the rebuke? What is a rebuke? Why is everyone laughing? Do you know this standpoint, huh? Do we listen patiently to the rebuke? If you have a rebuke, you have a homeostasis activity going on, a regulating activity. Do we listen patiently to the rebuke and credit what is said? That would be to accept the rebuke. Do we not rather give thanks that we are not as other men? Thank goodness I'm not like her. This friend, this person that I thought was my friend, has informed me of a fault. But we usually don't want to acknowledge that. The discrepancy within ourself would be not to accept it, and even to try to find a fault in the other one, sometimes a greater fault. So you see that she's indicating the homeostasis. Are we lined up? Are we coincident with, are we isomorphic with the principle of identity of what we have seen in the subject of soul? That we have the self-regulation principle within us, the homeostasis, homeoreza within us, that we don't reject a merited rebuke, that we don't rebuke a merited rebuke, but that we allow ourselves to be corrected, and that would mean to be open to the divine self-regulating principles of homeostasis and reza wherever they appear. They can appear everywhere. Actually, you know, the further you go in the text, the more you feel that you are leaving the being concerned only with yourself, and that there is an opening up. You see, we come to principle, and principle says, how do you relate to, not only to yourself, but how do you relate to your universe? What are your relationships like? Are you open, balanced, opened in a right way in your relationships? And so we have an example of that, a kind of a self-rectification process to accept, you see, to, as we saw about the homeostasis, that it adapts, it will adapt to the homeoreza, to that which is fluctuating it, coming in and urging from it a higher steady state, a new steady state. Actually, you see that the informing of us is a fluctuation coming in. We're informed of something that we were not aware of or had not been brought to our attention before by the homeorrhea. It's something that comes in in order to make us better. And so the homeostasis has to adapt the current steady state to take in the new to a new steady state. Just tell me, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Good, all right. And so the honest prayer, the self-organization within us, the honesty to our principle, requires that self-examination and that self-rectification, that we don't reject the operation of the homeostasis and the homeorrhea, no matter where it comes from, no matter where we see it. And then she takes herself as an example and says, during many years, the author has been most grateful for merited rebuke. She says, I'm going to feed on that. I'm going to feed off of that autocatalytically. I'm going to let every rebuke I'm going to use, put to good use, avail myself of the benefits of every merited rebuke. This is what love does. This is the womanhood attitude, a love attitude. Love takes it in. Take the rebuke in. Take it in, it will bless you. It will advance you. She says the wrong lies only in unmerited rebuke, in unmerited censure, in a falsehood that doesn't do anybody any good. And we come to know, we come as we are matured and matured by our principle, matured into a dynamic, self-organized system. We come to know when a rebuke is merited and when it is not merited. And then the unmerited rebuke is rebuked by the homeostasis within us. And the merited rebuke is accepted by the homeostasis within us. We are never touched, never halted in our progress by an unmerited rebuke. So all the criticism in the world, all the, falsehoods said against us do not weigh one jot in that balance. So, principle of soul is showing us the conformity between our concept of what we are and what we really are. And we see that she shows us that through three aspects: soul as mind, lining us up with mind, namely that we have to be willing to learn what we honestly are, that as spirit, the system within us, the divine system, is grateful for a merited rebuke, and finally, as soul, that we are grateful for the bringing forth of our true selfhood, versus the unwillingness, the gratitude for not to be as other men are, not to be as the others are, and culminating really in a kind of a self-aggrandizement, a false estimate of ourselves.